Well, friends of the channel, it is that time of year where we look back and reflect on all the things we are thankful for this year. And I figured, why don't we open this instead of doing anything silly, instead of doing any crazy, ridiculous cold opens? Let's just share those things that we are most thankful for in the year of 2024. I'll start. Why not? I am thankful for this channel. I'm thankful for all the great friends who help make this channel as great as it is and as entertaining for me and as meaningful for me as it is. So I thank all of us who are involved behind the scenes, on the scenes, and elsewhere. Everyone who listens to us. I'm thankful for this network first and foremost.
Hmm.
Stacy, what are you thankful for?
I'm gonna be cheesy and just say that I am thankful for the health of all my family and friends, including you guys.
Oh, that's beautiful, Stacy. Matt, what are you thankful for this year?
So beautiful, so beautiful. To be honest, guys, if I can just take a second, I'm thankful that they weren't checking the door at that Walmart Black Friday 2016. They weren't checking the items at the door.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Matt. Thank you. Okay, I'll go again. I'm thankful. You know what? I'm thankful that Patrick Dempsey's Boston accent is so much better than his one in Ferraris was. Stacy, anything else you're thankful for?
Well, I am very thankful that this year we're definitely gonna have a bird turkey, not a human turkey.
That's a good one. Good. Matt, anything else you're thankful for?
Well, I mean, just kind of piggybacking off of you guys, I'm glad that I'm thankful that they never found out who bit that lady at Walmart 2016 Black Friday.
You know, Matt, this is the second time you've brought up Black Friday 2016. Do you have something to share that we might not know, or?
I need this story.
I'm thankful for FRAMEWRECK.
What a story, Mark.
Hello, everyone, and happy Thanksgiving here from the Dyl Pickle Movie Network to you all. We're thankful for you all. We're thankful you tuned into today's episode, our episode 37, I believe, of FRAMEWRECK. Very exciting
37.
show about so bad they're good movies, but occasionally we just talk about movies that are just generally schlocky, which might be the case today. But I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Matt Chapmond. How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing great. Excited to talk about this movie.
Very exciting. And we have a guest today, of course. You first saw her on the Raven episode during our subathon, 24-hour subathon in the middle of the night. And now she's here at a normal hour. We have Stacy joining us for Thanksgiving. The conversation, not necessarily the meal. She'll be enjoying her own Thanksgiving with her own family. But we're happy to have our own little mini Thanksgiving, Friendsgiving here. Stacy, how are you? Welcome to the show.
I am great, and I just now realized that the movie came out on November 17th last year.
Oh, and
Because
that's
I
when
went
we're
to see it
recording it.
opening day, and it is now November 17th that we're recording.
Great. So
So
we're
it's
recording
like,
on the 1 year anniversary, of course, of Eli Roth's Thanksgiving, which, is inspired by the trailer he made for Grindhouse, which I'm sure Matt will tell us about in a sec. But yeah, this was a first watch for Matt and I. Stacy had seen this one, had basically recommended, hey, we should talk about Thanksgiving for Thanksgiving on FRAMEWRECK. And, it's always fun when Matt and I have never seen a movie because we have to kind of go into it, not just ready to watch a movie and discuss it, but also determine if it is one of those so bad it's good movies, or if it kind of hits a different level. Maybe it is just good, maybe it is just bad, maybe it is so good it's good, so bad it's good, so bad it's bad. It can hit any of those quadrants. I guess not quad, it's more tridents, if you will. But yeah, this was a very fun kind of experiment to just immerse in a new film. But Stacy's kind of the pro here, so she also has some geographic connection to this film as well. But Matt, where do we begin here talking about Thanksgiving?
Well, I don't. I was telling them before, I'm not quite as prepared as normal, but so I don't have the full history of this, but I can tell you about the sitting in the theater during Grindhouse, because I saw that movie in theater, that double feature in theater, and had fake trailers on it, and one of them was this, and this was probably my favorite one that day. Well, they were all pretty good. 3 of the trailers that were on that day have been made into movies. There's only 2 trailers from that actually haven't been made into movies, and
So
that's
there were 5 trailers altogether. Is that how it was? They showed
it
a movie and then
was
5 trailers in another movie, or how was? Because I've only seen
I
Death
think
Proof of that Grindhouse
oh,
project, so I
okay.
didn't know how exactly it was structured. But
So basically, I think there was one before. I think Machete
Hmm.
was before the other ones. Like I
Okay.
think it was on before Planet Terror, because Planet Terror was the Grindhouse, or was Robert Rodriguez's movie.
Yeah.
And then it was the other, and then it was 3 more, and then there was one, Hobo with a Shotgun, which also has been made into a feature length movie. It actually won Robert Rodriguez's contest to be one of the trailers. So it was not in every theater, but so it was basically those 3 trailers, and I think there was also like a brief intermission, and then it went on to Death Proof.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll once we get into the movie, I'll talk about the trailer, because the trailer actually set an expectation for me that I will need to discuss at some point during this. But yeah, so it was all fun. SS or sorry, Werewolf Women of the SS did not get it. So has not, by Rob Zombie, has not yet gotten its own movie. We can always hope. And then Don't by freaking what's his name? Oh my God, Shaun of the Dead. What's his?
Edgar Wright.
Edgar
Yeah.
Wright. God damn it! I don't know why I forgot his name all of a sudden. Don't by Edgar Wright has not gotten one, and that's probably the one I want to see most now. Is Don't, because Edgar Wright just loves like weird grindhouse type horror movies, and so to have him make, and the trailer was just full of tropes. That was the point of the trailer, was that was completely full of tropes, and I would just love to see his take on a grindhouse horror movie, but we never got that. The other 3, we Machete, Thanksgiving, and Hobo with a Shotgun, we did get feature length movies of all those.
Yeah. Which is cool because
I
it took
do-
so long too. Yeah.
I do have some history on the movie, on the like making the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I was gonna ask you next, Stacey. Like, had you seen the Grindhouse trailer for this as well, or
No, I have
okay,
not.
so this was just kind of a brand new idea. But
Yeah, I knew about it. I
right,
knew
you know
about
about it also because you are from that area, which is kind of what I
Yes.
alluded to earlier. So I'd love to hear what you have to say
Yes.
about just the making of Thanksgiving.
The movie, actually, originally, Eli Roth and his friend, they are from Massachusetts, and most school kids in Massachusetts take a field trip every year to Plymouth Plantation, which has like a Native American side and a Pilgrim side, and you learn all that stuff they did. And they had the idea for like, what would a horror movie do? Like, you could churn somebody to death, like you're turning butter, and like all this different stuff. So eventually that turned into the trailer, and then that turned into the movie. And I think they started like in 2019 trying to film it in Plymouth. Plymouth was not having it. For those watching, I am from Plymouth. I grew up in Plymouth. I spent at least half my life there, and now I live right in the town next to Plymouth. Like, I've either lived in or next to Plymouth my entire life. So, and yeah, they have sticks up their butts a bit. So I'm not surprised they wouldn't let the serial killer about their favorite holiday be filmed in town.
Right.
But the trailer misled me a lot, because I watched the trailer and I was like, oh, this is filmed in Plymouth. Like, I was positive it was filmed there from the shots in the trailer. And then I looked and I was like, what? It's filmed in Canada? And I was so confused. And I just found out today there are drone shots of Plymouth in the trailer. So I was not insane. I did recognize it, which it was very vindicating for me. But
Nice.
yeah, so it's fun.
How big is Plymouth? Like, how many people?
Area-wise, it is the biggest town in the state of Massachusetts. It is very large, like 5-6 exits on the highway large that are spread out by miles. Wow. Population-wise, it's not technically a city, it's a town. I don't know what that means. I just know that's where I've always known that the population is not anywhere near the most in the state, obviously.
Right. Okay,
So
interesting. Well, because I was wondering, because in this movie, it makes it seem like a small town. Like
yeah,
it kind of has that small town thing, but it also has two high schools. So I was
right.
I I was not
We do have
sure.
choice. I will go into all the wrong and rights about that
Okay,
everything
great.
they do wrong and right about Plymouth.
Yeah,
So I don't know when we want to do that. If we want to talk about the movie first, but
yeah.
two high schools is one thing I will touch on.
Cool. Yeah, because we can get into the movie and then we can talk about like the inaccuracies or accuracies. Because I know this
Mhm.
is such a like close and near to home film for you, which is always fun. Like I love talking about movies of New York because I have the same
Mhm.
kind of outlook, same as Matt with Oklahoma. I know when they were making like twisters and stuff. It was very exciting because I got to ask him questions about that. So it's really
Mhm.
cool when you have a film that's kind of set close to home. I was kind of also in the camp of you, Stacy. I had not seen the Grindhouse trailer, so I didn't really know what to expect, and I'm glad I watched it after the fact, because I did watch it after. It's 2 minutes, but I loved kind of watching it now in retrospect because I'm glad I watched the film first because it would have spoiled a lot of the best kills, I think, or a lot of at least the best moments. But I do think it's an interesting kind of idea. The fact that this like kind of cheesy little like 2 minute trailer that they used as more of a vibe setter for this
Mhm.
overall project ended up actually becoming something real. And by many people's estimations, perhaps his best film, Eli Roth's, which I think is
Mhm.
really ironic considering it was made as almost like this kind of silly little like joke. But it shows that, hey, as long as you have the right person making it, or at least understand the right tone, it could end up being something that can withstand 2 hours or an hour and a half or whatever of runtime. It doesn't need to just be like a little SNL bit, which this also could have been. Um,
Mhm.
and I think there are very few pitches that can withstand that whole feature length treatment. If you were to merely pitch it as like a 2 minute trailer joke, which like is why we have sketch comedy, but it's also why we shouldn't just limit it to that as well, which
Mhm.
is interesting. But I did watch the trailer afterwards, and I'm glad I did in the reverse order, so I could kind of go into this full of just complete ambivalence of not knowing anything of what was going to go on, which is kind of cool.
Since we're talking about the trailer, I'll kind
Mhm.
of give you kind of my experience with that
Mhm.
because okay, first of all, I feel like we should have done this at top. This is not going to be just a normal frame wreck
Yeah.
episode because it's not a bad movie and it was well received, so it's not a redemption. So it's just
Right.
kind of we're talking about it. Our
Yeah.
spoilers at the end are not going to be normal; they're going to be Thanksgiving themed. So just so you know, we're just going to be talking about a movie here. Is basically the thing.
Yeah.
As far as the trailer goes, I think this is his second best movie. I think The House of the Clock in Its Walls is his best movie. But I think it says something that the movies that are his best are not normal Eli Roth movies. Like they don't feel
Mhm.
so much like Eli Roth
Mhm.
movies because I'm not a fan of Eli Roth's movies in general. The trailer set me up for these kills, and so I knew they were coming, and it was disappointing not because I knew that they were coming, but because they're so much cooler in that original trailer.
Mm.
I don't know if there was like a studio interference situation with that, or if he was trying to downplay. Like I don't know if he was trying to make it more palatable for people. I don't know exactly what was happening, but uh, every kill that is in this movie that was also in the trailer in the Grindhouse trailer is toned down so much
Really?
and
Mm.
yeah, the trampoline scene with the
Mhm.
thing, um when she comes down on the knife, she's in the thing she does the splits and bounces
Yeah,
back up.
I
The
get where you're
knife is
going
there
with this, and
when
I
she
don't like
does
it.
the splits. Yeah, it sucks, but it's way cooler than in my opinion than what happened. Um, the the human turkey thing uh looked was it was just it was a lot more turkey like, and it I don't know, it just looked a lot better for me. So anyway, so the first time I watched this movie through, I was like, God, it's just it feels so tame.
Hmm.
But that was all down to my expectations. The second time I watched it this morning, I was able to enjoy it a lot more because those expectations were tempered. And usually I'm not a person who lets the expectations get in the way of them. I'm not a person who believes in something being overhyped because it's hyped exactly as much as somebody as the people who watch it feel like it's all about what they feel. So I'm not the person who really believes in that kind of thing. But I do feel like my expectation did get the better of me on this movie the first time. The second time I was able to enjoy it a lot more.
Yeah, that's very interesting because yeah, having seen the trailer after, I guess I don't necessarily. It's not that I don't agree, but I'm just not able to see that perspective of it feeling toned down because obviously I hadn't seen the trailer beforehand, so I didn't know what that style was. But I think it's pretty. I mean, like as I was watching this, because I watched this with my parents and my brother, like those kills were still very graphic by other standards. I think when you're comparing it directly to the trailer, it's a little tamer. But I think in general, in terms of general like horror or slasher films, like you're not seeing kills like this in Scream or in Halloween even. Like I feel like it's toned down, at least in my opinion. Like there were a lot of kills in this thing where I had to look away, and I never usually have to just because of how gruesome they were. My one complaint, my family was like, "Why is no one vomiting at all these things? This is disgusting." And then at the very end, the dad with the mustache does vomit, and I was like, "Oh, vindicated." But yeah, it was very interesting because I had the total opposite approach. I was like, "This is honestly pushing it." I felt for horror in terms of the
Oh, wow.
extremities kills. So, but again, I didn't see the trampoline kill in the horror trailer, so like watching that, I was like, wow, this is like insane. But then you watch it and it's like, oh, it got even more gruesome. It was more
Yeah.
gruesome. So I get that perspective for sure. But yeah, Matt kind of alluded to it. The big question we were trying to answer, we'll answer now. It is a good movie. We like it, which is kind of what we were gonna build to. But I guess we'll start there because we all like it. I think that's a kind of cool way to approach this episode because, as Matt said, there's really no one out there who doesn't like it to the point where we need to redeem it. So we can get to kind of just talking about why we genuinely like the movie, even with some of the qualms we have with it. But Stacey, you're our guest, so I will open it with you first. You were the one who had seen this movie before. Did you like it more on this rewatch? Like, what appeals to you so much about Thanksgiving?
So,
The holiday.
like I said, I saw it opening night. I was very excited. It just looked like so much fun. And being set in Plymouth, we've had movies filmed in Plymouth. Like I can go see Plymouth on the screen someplace, but not set in Plymouth. So that was really, really like fun for me. And I had a lot of fun the first time I watched it. I was in a freezing cold theater. I don't know why it was so cold. I still to this day, I went to the same theater recently and I was a little nervous because it's November and I was like, is it going to be that cold again? Like it like traumatized me. But despite it being freezing cold, I still had a lot of fun with the movie. I was a bit nitpicking throughout about the Plymouth things of it, but I walked out immediately going, I can't wait to do FRAMEWRECK on this next year. Because I had no idea that people would, like, a lot of times people don't get that the movie's doing it on purpose, right? So, like, I could see people watching it and thinking it was a really bad, cheesy movie if they didn't, like, look at it as they know exactly what they're doing. So I didn't realize when I first brought it up and everything that it was going to be well received. So I kind of misled you guys by accident. But no, like I walked out going, this is my favorite line. I am ready for FRAMEWRECK. Like I was so excited. And I loved that it knew what it was doing. I loved how campy and fun it was. I loved it being in Plymouth, even if they did change a lot about Plymouth and they didn't use their drone shots that tricked me. And yeah, and my friend that I went with, he is not from Plymouth. And I don't know that he even really goes to Plymouth except for when we go to the movies, which is not even actually in Plymouth. He really liked to chew and had a lot of fun with the chew. And so, yeah, I think probably I liked it a little more upon rewatch just because I know already how much they changed. So like the first time I didn't know going in that they were going to change so much. So now I know and it's kind of fun, like the changes and stuff.
Yeah.
We had similar experiences just with a different aspect of it on that.
And I think you bring up the best word, which is intention. And I think, like it's very clear that they intended to make something satirical. And it is funny because it's a lot of the time, people don't necessarily know when they're watching something, whether or not it is satire. But I think for this one, you're able to pick up on it quick enough to where you're able to settle into it, knowing exactly what the film is. Whereas I feel like sometimes with like So Bad It's Good movies, even where we're entertained, but like we're still trying to figure out, was this intentional? Was this not? I feel like it takes us a little while. We're still trying to piece it all together. Whereas I think this one establishes the tone very early on. So that way you can just kind of enjoy the ride and don't have to think about, well, is this purposely bad? Is this unintentionally bad? Because it's none of it's like bad, but it is schlocky, like you said. There is like a campiness and a silliness to it, especially in the dialogue. And I think that's another strength of the film is that from a script perspective and a just the way it was conceived and the premise, it's very campy and schlocky. But the actual the way it's filmed, the actual execution of it, whether or not it's tamer or less than the trailer, which we've talked about, but like it is still well executed enough to where it's not like The Room where you're hearing like this weird audio and the visuals are all off. Like it's not like that. So
No,
there's
it's
like this
definitely a
competence.
Hollywood movie.
Right. There's
It's
competence in the presentation, even if the schlockiness comes from the script, which I think makes for a more palatable balance. But Matt, what did you think of the actual like balance of camp and tone? Were you on board with this from the get go for the satire? Did having the trailer help it, or?
No, I was on board with it from the get go. Just because of the trailer, and that's why on first watch it kind of felt like they didn't go far enough with the silliness of the thing, because the kills are more brutal in the trailer, but they're also sillier. So it's that was kind of the way it went. So that's why I kind of felt that way at first, but on second watch, so I was on board with it anyway, and that was actually it's a detractor for me originally, was that like I wanted it to be sillier. Second time I watch it through, I can see those things that I was overlooking because I was looking for the trampoline kill to be better or whatever or different, not better necessarily, just different.
Right.
And so so there were certain things. I mean, there were some choices they made in it that I thought would have been better if they had been done a little bit differently, but we could talk about that a little bit right now and talk about the good things. So like this is so weird. I liked it the first time, but it sounds like I didn't like it. The first time I watched it through, I was like, God, is any character in this movie likable? They all suck. And I was like, I need someone to latch onto, and really the only one I latched onto ended up being the fucking killer.
Yeah,
and so I was, the second time I found somebody that I actually latched onto a lot more, and so that made me happy. But I also embraced those characters for what they were, and enjoyed that a little bit more. But yeah, so I think the characters are good because I didn't, and this is the opposite of how I normally would feel in a horror movie. Normally in a horror movie, I want to root for these people to not die. And I did not feel that in this movie, but I think that's to its benefit. I think that if we're going to concentrate on the comedy of this and the silliness, that if the dude gets his head tenderized, it's not going to, I'm not going to worry. It's not going to bother me that much. In fact, finally, we don't have to listen to him anymore.
and I think another part of that is also just the way they open this film to give you exactly the background you need without saying this is who this person is, this is the way they are. Put them in a high pressure scenario where all mayhem is going loose and see how they react to know, okay, she's probably just a bystander following along the herd. She doesn't want to go into the store. She's going to be our hero. These guys are filming it. We don't like them, even though they're our core group of friends. I think a lot of that Black Friday sequence, aside from just being so well directed and well presented, like that was the real hook for me, where I was like, this is amazing. It's great. But also like, it kind of gives us everything we need to know about these characters to understand, okay, most of these people are really bad because in a moment of crisis, this is what they're doing, which is not the right thing to be doing. And it gives us all the background we need, as Matt said, to like not necessarily feel it for them when they do meet their demise, which is fun. And I think because you have so many unlikable people, it also makes it a little harder not to guess the killer, because I'll say one of the downfalls for me was that I did guess the killer. I paused it at the 31-minute mark and I told my parents this is who it is, and I was right. But it's at the 31-minute mark I was able to guess it. But I still think having just so many bad people or unlikable characters, it makes it seem like any one of them from a slasher perspective could be the killer, because they just have like some shitty side to themselves, which I think is always good in a slasher, where it's like, where it's not completely out of left field because everyone is a suspect, because everyone is kind of shady in a way, and the only person who's not is our main hero, who we know is our main hero. We know she's not the killer. Right. So I think it works really well.
10 minutes into the movie, they had so many suspects that at first I was just like, if it's any of these people, it's going to be a little bit disappointing. But also, if it's not one of these people, will it make any sense? And that was kind of where I was at that point. I'm interested in finding out what at the 31-minute mark, because the second time watching it through, I was like, I want to see if I can find the point where I would know this. And I didn't ever find that point. And so I'm interested to know
Yeah.
if there was something that happened that made you know that he was the killer.
I could probably pull up the movie now and check, but I'm not going to for time's sakes. But I think it was one of the interactions he had. I think it was when she showed him the picture of Milo Mannheim's character hugging the security guard, and he kind of had this look on his face. He's like, interesting. And it
Mhm.
was almost like she wasn't giving evidence to create another suspect, but she was almost putting a target on his back. And that's when I think that's when I finally pieced together that he was taking intel, because I knew this was a revenge plot because of the patting of the kitty. The patting of the cat
Yeah.
showed that he was not just a deranged psychopath. He was
Hey, look.
actively getting revenge on people because he was wronged. And then I was thinking about who was wronged in the opening, and it was really just the guy whose wife died, and then the guy who liked his wife, who we clearly got that chemistry from the bat when he comes in for the Thanksgiving, and they're kind of flirting to where I thought they were together. And then I was like, oh, he's not married to her. I thought they
Yeah.
were married. So then I was like, oh, but he
They are
does love
together.
her.
They're
Right,
just
right,
not
right. That's the thing.
married.
And I didn't pick up all of that. Like, I didn't know she was pregnant, all that
Yeah.
stuff. But I did pick up together that he was upset that she died and was seeking out his revenge and using her to get all the names of the people he should target. And the parts I didn't pick up on was all like the what they almost led us to believe was like a Scream thing where it was him and the other guy, but then really apparently he like drugged him and then put him in a costume. That part was a little confusing for me. But when he's like lying next to the cop car, I was like, oh, there were two of them. That part I was wrong about, because then I was like, oh, but it actually was just one guy. But yeah, but it didn't ruin the movie for me, which is, I think, a strength. Like some slashers, if you're able to suss out who the killer is early, it can sometimes ruin it for you. It didn't for me because I was still trying to piece together how he gets away with it, and also exactly what the motive was and when all those pieces started coming together. So it wasn't necessarily a criticism for me. It was just an observation, just based on where it was going and knowing that the only other person that it really could have been was Milo Mannheim's character. And I just think they were purposely trying to make him seem a little shadier when he's just a normal dude, that I feel like it was too much of a red herring, you know?
So do you guys never thought it was Bobby?
Oh,
Like, not
I thought it was Bobby immediately as soon as
Oh,
his arm got stepped
okay,
on.
because I thought it was Bobby for pieces here and there as well. So I'm like, is
oh,
it just
interesting.
me that thought like it was Bobby
I
sometimes?
thought they were. Here's the thing. I thought they made it so obvious it was Bobby that it
It
couldn't be
can't be
Bobby.
Bobby. Exactly.
So when they when it gets to the point where she's like, "It's Bobby," I'm like, "Oh, that's
Nope,
so
it's not
disappointing."
Bobby.
Like,
I think I'm with you because it was so obvious, like, oh, Bobby's back in town for the first time in a year, and
Mhm.
these killings are
And he did
starting.
have motivation with the
He did have
injury.
motivation, but it was like, of course, he comes back in town the same week these killings start. It was
Mhm.
too obvious, as Matt said. And also the diner scene where she like sees Bobby and then he leaves the diner and then she looks outside and the killer's watching her. I knew that was supposed to be them trying to tell us it was Bobby. And I think it was kind of that reverse psychology of us, like, because all three of us have watched a lot of slashers. We know it's not
Mhm.
that easy where it's just going to be the character who
right.
just left the diner is the guy. But that's a good point, Matt. I think it was almost so obvious that it was Bobby that it wasn't. And that's why I
I
never suspected Bobby. I
think
only
at one
suspected
point
the cop and Milo. Yeah.
I keep waiting for a movie, and this lend a little bit to my thinking maybe it's Bobby at certain times. I keep waiting for the twist to be that it is the obvious person
Right.
because audiences are so smart now that we don't expect the one that they're feeding to us. So we're always looking for somebody else. So I'm waiting for a movie that actually that is the one.
There is a movie, and I
That'd
don't
be the
want to
twist.
ruin this
No.
movie for
Do I see
you
it?
guys have seen it. You guys have
Oh,
seen
okay.
it, and most people have seen it. If you don't want to know, mute it right now for the next 30 seconds. But Scream 5 executed that actually
Mhm.
pretty brilliantly by
Yes.
Yeah.
making the boyfriend the killer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they do go the extra
Correct.
mile in adding a second killer to it, which
Killer.
adds the little
Well,
extra
no.
twist, which I thought this was gonna do at the end when they did show
Mhm.
Bobby in the mask. I think that was kind of the extra subversion of like, if you thought it was the cop, well, you're wrong, it's this guy. And even
Right.
then I was like, they're working together. Because
'Cause
even when they
I
linger on the cop lying down, he like kind of moves a little where you're like, oh, he's alive. Like there's just little things that I don't know.
Because I did think it was Patrick. I don't remember now because it was a year ago exactly when I thought who. I know I went back and forth a little bit. I wasn't surprised by any means that it was Patrick Dempsey in the end. I know that he was on my radar too. But yeah, that didn't. I mean, I don't know the last movie where I was completely shocked by who the killer
And
was.
the only other
I
thing
can tell
I'll
you oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say the only other thing is also it's Patrick Dempsey. He's your biggest star in the movie, and he
Mhm.
really doesn't get any other plot development. He's
Right.
merely there to help the kids. Where like he has no other character ambitions or arcs to where we know there must be something underlying, which we find out later. But I think that was another part too. Is I'm like Bobby has the motive, he has the story here. Patrick Dempsey's just there for every scene, and he's a big actor, and like none of the other cops are getting as much focal points. I was like, I think that's also another tell, just the studio behind the scenes of it all.
Okay, just to counter that, I don't mean this negatively because I love Patrick Dempsey. He's a TV actor. I mean, he is in movies, but he's not Christian Bale. If Christian Bale was in this, you're like, oh, and had that role, it's like, okay, he's the killer.
But I
That's kind of
originally knew Patrick Dempsey in the 80s from movies before he was a
well.
TV
So
actor.
so did I. What
But
I'm
he
saying
is
that
better known for Grey's Anatomy
the
now.
light from his star is not as bright as so. He actually feels like the kind of actor who would be in that. Oh, he's the sheriff and possibly the hero role. So I can tell you guys exactly the moment that I realized it was Patrick Dempsey. And honestly, you guys are way smarter than me apparently because I feel dumb. Because
No, we're
it
not
was
trying to make you feel
it
dumb.
was
No,
oh,
no.
I know you aren't. I know you aren't. And you're not. You aren't making me feel dumb. I'm like, oh gosh, we're there because that's why I went through the second time trying to find the moment where I would have noticed, and I never found it. But it's the moment where, and it's right before he's revealed, when when his partner says, "Hey, we need your gun because you fired it." I was like, okay, that's weird that they included that. That's something that they would do in real life. They don't usually show us that, and so I was like, okay, that must mean that he's the killer.
Yeah.
So that was the moment for me. As far as the potential other suspects, I mean, Bobby was an obvious immediate the guy who was married to Gina Gershon, not
The guy who worked at the store. Yeah, who was
the guy who worked.
protesting.
Guy was
Yeah.
married to whatever.
Yeah, he was the
whatever
most
his-
obvious, which kind of rolled him out.
He
Right.
felt most obvious, and we didn't see him much throughout the movie. So I was like, so it's possible, but then like they're not developing that much at all. So those two felt like the most obvious. Also,
The new boyfriend is another suspect.
Milo Murphy. What'd you say that guy's
Milo
name?
Mannheim
Baker?
is
His
the
last
actor.
name
I
is
don't know his.
Baker.
I don't know the
Ryan
character.
is his name Ryan in the movie?
It might be.
Something like
I just know it's the last name is Baker. Ryan Baker sounds right, but I'm not positive.
it's the guy who the second boyfriend, her second boyfriend, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the really tall guy with all the money.
Yeah, I just call him Milo
Addies are
Mannheim.
something smart people take to go to Ivy Leagues. That guy,
Ryan.
yeah, Ryan. Okay, I don't know who he is outside of this movie. This is the first time I've ever seen.
Me neither.
So
I'm showing my age. I'm showing my wee age.
no, I think we're showing our ages.
No, I'm excited because he's a Disney Channel kid. So to see him like swear and use
that makes
F-bombs, I was like, there you go. He's in the movie Zombies. He's the star of that.
okay.
He's also
Okay.
he was also on Dancing with the Stars and was one of the best people to never win that show. So yeah, I'm a big Milo Mannheim fan, but I love seeing him curse. It's like when I watched Nat or Alex Wolff in Hereditary, I was like, all right, you're leveling up, which was yeah.
What is he from?
Naked Brothers Band, which was another.
Yeah.
Oh
I knew
yeah,
that.
I actually had heard something about that recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
my
Because
kids. My kids were
Hereditary
in
was the
that.
first thing I ever saw of it. So
So.
okay. Anyway, so those seem like those were immediately like, oh, these are the three major suspects. The people who were there. And so he was not on my radar at all, but until the very end. But again, he felt like I'm in this movie to be the hero character.
That's why I
actor.
suspected him.
Well,
I
and
always
that's a good reason to
hero
suspect him.
Yeah. What I do
just
like
didn't.
about it, whether or not, and the thing is, I guessed it at the 31-minute mark, but I wasn't like they did still add a lot of things that had me second guessing or wondering if there was an accomplice. And I think that's the strength of any good slasher is that, the horror and the slashing is good, which we'll talk about in a sec, but also like the actual suspect, like it's not as easy. And when it is easy, it's too easy. And I like that. I think honestly, they could have given us even more like suspects that were like genuinely just like very shady people that weren't, because there were just so many people at the crime scene or who were getting killed. Like the group of friends is so large that it really isn't any of those six or whatever. Like I don't know. I think it could have even gone further in that, but I think part of the fun is figuring it out. Yeah,
It could have even been somebody that we don't know until like later when they're watching video and they see somebody maybe that we haven't met, that because it was such a huge crowd and a huge thing going on, like really it could have been somebody we didn't even know about. But
I actually that was actually where I led, like eventually I got to the point where I was like, I don't think it's any of these people, because I ruled out Bobby as soon as he starts trying to kill Jennifer, because he was in love with, like, obviously it felt like that was not, he would not be trying so hard to kill her, so it felt wrong. um and then I kind of ruled out the other guy because his the guy who was protesting, that guy, I don't remember why I ruled him out. And then
For me, it was
Ryan, I
also-
ruled him out because I'm pretty sure he was like he wasn't a victim, but I don't know, he did not feel like the right person.
For me, the thing that ruled him out is also his build. Like the killer we saw was a little bit smaller and leggier. He was a bigger dude, like just a little bit more bulk. So I think that was also part of it too. Where there was a part where my mom goes, "Is the killer a woman?" Because of just the physique as well. Which again, there's usually stunt doubles who play the killers anyway. Patrick Dempsey probably wasn't in the mask for all those killings, but you know, it is another thing to suggest.
He was so small that it looked like it might have been Billy because of the size.
Right.
Right.
It was weird, but it was a bigger dude that he was against. So it's hard to really gauge that. But when I watched back the second time, I was like, is Patrick Dempsey that small? Like, that feels really small.
Do you want to say it's Jessica? No, before people
Jessica,
comment.
I said Jennifer, I said Jessica.
Yeah, just before it's an easy thing to do. Trust me, because you know, Jason, Justin. Let's not go there. But
yeah. Anything else on the suspects murder mystery? Because we focused a lot on the murder mystery of it, but I want to get into
I don't think
killings
nothing
as well.
I think anything else I say would probably be reiteration.
Yeah, it's just yeah, I agree.
Yeah. What do we think of the horror though? Because I know like we could talk about it in context of the trailer, but it's just on its own as well. Like what I love so much about this, and I think we haven't even talked about this. Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday, so I think the fact that this was a movie that not only like was taking place during Thanksgiving and had like iconography in the images, but like it really leaned into making it feel like a Thanksgiving movie, which we just don't have a lot of. From the parade, but also just the way the kills, like the turkey. Again, it's gruesome, it's nasty, but it is also like, you know, an homage to that holiday. In the way that like Halloween is a movie about Halloween, not just about killings on Halloween. You know, it embodies the spirit of the holiday. So I think that was kind of where I was most engaged with the film as well, is just like, you know, just the way even the cheesy dialogue, as cheesy as it is, like just the fact that it kind of referenced Thanksgiving and also Black Friday and the ridiculousness of Black Friday bleeding into my favorite holiday, and that everyone needs to leave dinner early to go get online for their sale or whatever. But I really do love just how infused with the holiday it is, because we don't get a lot of good Thanksgiving movies. It's like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and that's like it, you know. When Harry Met Sally is autumnal, but it's not a Thanksgiving movie. So I just really liked it from that angle, and I think all the kills, regardless of which ones are better than others, they all at least still feel like they belong in this specific, you know, holiday flair, you know, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. Just wanted to say that.
No, okay. I'm not a huge Thanksgiving fan. I think it's fine. I like the getting together, but it's never been a big focus for my. I mean, it's been a focus for my family. We get together and we eat dinner, but I would say that since I've been an adult, I've had far fewer Thanksgivings with family than anything else. So it's because also I would say because I used to work retail, and especially when I worked at the video store. That video stores are open 365 days a year. So that was and movie theaters. So, and I also worked at a movie theater.
What was the most rented film around Thanksgiving time? Like, what were most families renting to watch on? Was there a film that you kept seeing? Like for my family, it's always The
Planes,
Godfather.
Trains, and Automobiles. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is probably the one that I could think of that people, but we didn't have. It's not like we had a bunch of copies of that. I don't know. It's not. I wouldn't say that I noticed a Thanksgiving theme with any of the movies or anything.
Gotcha. Yeah, just curious.
But yeah, so Thanksgiving is, I enjoy it when I get to have the time together, but it's not one that really resonates with me, and it's got such a nasty history that it
yeah, my only defense of that is also like a lot of people who say Christmas is their favorite holiday, but not because of the religious stuff. It's like, okay, then Thanksgiving's my favorite stuff minus all that stuff, is how I approach it too. Cause I like it for what, we all love it for: the food, the family, the just ability to share our grateful and thankfulness, and also just to watch a lot of football and watch Godfather at
Oh,
night.
I also
And
don't
just
care
like,
about football, so
that's
that's
another thing
also
too.
part of
But
it.
just like the vibes, and also I love autumnal atmosphere in and of itself, where by winter it's all fallen off, but here it's still in the midst of like the creme de la creme of fall.
Mhm.
So, but I understand that the history behind it, and I think this film kind of touches on it a little bit, but not enough. They kind of make a joke of it in the poetry
Yeah,
scene.
in the class.
But I do think, yeah, that is 100% true, and I do think that is a major reason why people don't love the holidays. So I get that for
And I
I
don't
just
think, and again, I don't think there's anything wrong with you loving the holiday or anything. It's just the history of it does justify that I don't care about it.
Oh,
is all.
absolutely.
Oh,
I
not
I
that I don't. Also, I don't care about it. I do care about it. I just don't. It's not as much as like the holidays that surround it. So
Gotcha.
go. Sorry.
I
Go ahead. Steve.
just want to say that I have no problem with you loving Thanksgiving for the reasons you love Thanksgiving, but you can't really compare it to people loving Christmas without the religion, because they don't believe in the religion. It's not like you believe in the history that
True.
happened,
True.
not like you don't believe in Jesus. So
That's
it's
a good
kind
point.
of different. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, my
I don't
Thanksgiving,
believe in
I know,
pilgrims.
huh? You don't believe in
I
pilgrims
said I
either.
don't believe in pilgrims.
Oh.
Me neither. All those
Sorry.
graves around Plymouth, not real.
Empty.
Empty,
Just
broken,
boxes of wood.
made gravestones, paper mache. Um, yeah, I don't like Thanksgiving's not this huge thing for me. Like, especially now, because when I was a kid, we had like big ones with a lot of family, and they've scaled it down quite a bit to sometimes it's just like my immediate family.
Mhm.
And I love them, but I can have turkey with them some other day, and it would be just as lovely. I've gone on vacation over Thanksgiving a couple times. I've had Thanksgiving celebrated in Disney World and Universal, randomly in the Poconos, like all over.
I-
So,
yeah. I had Thanksgiving
so
in Turks and Caicos last year. No mashed potatoes. I was pissed. I was like, you can't give us even mashed potatoes. Anyway.
that's awful. But I will say Thanksgiving is a very big deal in Plymouth. A very big deal. The parade's a big deal. Like I said, they have banners all over about America's first Thanksgiving. Like they really play that up all the time. I don't go to the parade. It's usually crappy weather. It's usually kind of early. Once, like 20 years ago, I was Elmo in it, and that was a lot of fun, but everything was wet and I got bronchitis. So, although it was a lot of fun to be Elmo, I'm not gonna lie.
Okay. Then I keep my laugh.
No, you can laugh at it. It was
No,
fun.
it was like a haha, that's awesome. And
Yeah.
then you said you got bronchitis and I took it away. But now you said
I
it was
mean,
fun, so I'm adding it back.
it could have been coincidental, who knows? But it's just always that damp weather. There's always puddles, because it's near the water. And yeah. But
Nice.
I think the movie captured Plymouth's enthusiasm for Thanksgiving very well, even if it's not my
Is the
enthusiasm.
mask thing a common thing? The whatever John
I mean,
Cava?
I don't know. Maybe that's something that started at some point, but it's nothing that I had ever seen. And let's face it, like half my Facebook friends, if not more, are from Plymouth. I don't see pictures of people in masks at the parade photos and
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah.
It kind of made it seem like it was a thing this year rather than
Yeah, it was a new
than
thing.
whatever. Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned the mask. So I do want to mention a thing that the movie almost was awesome at and then failed, which was when the mask got burnt and he put it back on. It was like, oh, that's so cool. And then he does his little kill there, and then takes it off and puts a new one on. And I'm like, you ruined it. You were really cool for a second, and then you ruined it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I do like the idea of having the masks in general, though, because it does give it its own imagery that, like, Michael Myers and Jason, like, it's not going to live up to that. Like, I don't even know what you call him, John Carver killer.
He's John Carver, yeah.
Yeah,
John
but it's
Carver
like John
killer.
Carver is not going to be next to Michael Myers and Chucky and Jason and all that. But it does at least give the movie some sort of iconic face in the way that like the baby face in Happy Death Day and stuff like that is. So I like that they keep finding iconic images to make with their killers. But we
Mhm.
talked about a little bit, Matt, when we talked about the trailer and stuff. But like, let's talk about the kills just a little bit more. Obviously, I talked about how I love that Black Friday sequence. But are there any kills in particular you want to highlight? I guess we'll start with you, Matt, since you talked about the trampoline being an underwhelming one. But were there any kills that stood out to you?
There were two that that I thought were really cool. They were really cool, although not really. The science behind them didn't really work, but I didn't care because they were cool enough. And that was when he turned the dude's head around right before the trampoline kill. I was like, that's
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah, the makeup of the neck.
And that also made me go, Bobby couldn't do that. And, I don't. Patrick Dempsey couldn't do that either, but Bobby definitely couldn't. But there was that one, and then the corkscrew in the neck,
Line.
which was cool because it made the cork sound when he pulled it out, and then the you're gonna want to let that breathe. Like that was all
I
really
love
funny
that.
and a good
and it fits the vibe of the Thanksgiving too. Like
Yeah.
just the fact that this final set piece is all these dead or decapitated corpses around a table with like a human turkey in the middle. Like it's so fucked up, but in the best way that you would want a Thanksgiving horror film to be. I love it. The cork pop. Oh yeah, you're right. Oh, it's so good. Stacey, what about you? Any other kills that you want to highlight?
I mean, it's probably like the obvious kind of cheesy one, but I love the cooking of Kathleen. I think partly because I'm so horrified by it, because I'm like, how that must be, because she's awake, like she's not even knocked out, like she's awake, and I'm just like, oh god, it's so rough. And
I
then
am
of course,
so glad she either died quick or they cut away from her because I was like, I can't stay in here with her for
no.
very long.
And then of course, what happens because they kill her is also like horrible, but fun
Yeah,
in
the
a way.
only thing I hated that they didn't put in, and maybe they did and I just didn't hear it, that's in the trailer, like the fake trailer in Grindhouse, is white meat or dark meat. Like that was a perfect time for them to be like, you want white meat or dark meat? Because that's like the only classic little Thanksgiving things.
That
Like,
would have been better than the joke they actually did, which was he carved off her leg and it was white meat, and which doesn't make any sense. But asking is funny. The joke works better as asking than it does as him actually carving something off her leg and it being white meat, which is dumb because that's not how it would work.
The other thing I really like too, and it's not the actual kill, it comes before a kill, but it's the stabbing in the ears with the corn cob holders.
Where
Like
deafens
yeah,
Yulia.
it's yes. I just think that is just brutal but hilarious. And I had those exact corn cob holders growing up.
And it takes you
And
to the nostalgia of Thanksgiving. Yeah,
most
it's
people
crazy.
did. And yeah, and I think it's, it wouldn't have killed her. So like to have made that a kill would have been stupid, but to have her whole scene of being chased and attacked start with that, I think was great.
Yeah. And then falling on the saw, which is kind of,
Oh god.
similar to yours in the oven, is like one of my things as someone who, obviously majored in theater and had to spend
Mhm.
many hours in a theater shop just cutting wood for sets. Like I just, the fear of just cutting a finger off, let alone just like falling on the saw and then just like, oh my
No,
God.
I'm afraid of saws.
So,
That's
so
probably why
icky.
that's not my favorite, because I am afraid of saws.
Yeah.
I'm not
And
afraid
then
of being cooked alive.
yeah.
Like
And then I also love the at the parade when the guy just gets like impaled from the back forward. Like you see that in other movies,
yes.
but it's like, oh, just
It's
and then
so
it
big in
lingers.
this
So
one though.
big.
It's
Yeah, and
The
then
so
they're like,
mask is
Dad,
big.
so
wait,
big.
Grandpa, wake up, wake
Like
up. I'm
that.
like,
Yeah,
yeah. I think
exactly.
the horror is just really successful. Like as I said, like for me, this was very extreme, which I really appreciated. Like I was just, yeah, just icky, dicky,
It
dicky.
was extreme, but it wasn't body horror, which was being an Eli Roth movie going in. My fear was that it was going to be more body horror kills, which
Mm,
that's why I'm not a huge Eli Roth fan. Like I'm not
gotcha.
into that. So I'm really glad that it was more these kind of fun, over the top, not necessarily classic because they're different, but just more in line with like a slasher movie type
Right.
kills than body horror.
Yeah, good point.
I agree. I like that about it as well. That was something I was worried about because I don't like his stuff. But the stuff in the with the exception of the roasted turkey person in the original trailer wasn't really a body horror. It was all slasher stuff, which I really liked. It's just the fact that I had this expectation because he is known for going so extreme, and then I had this expectation of the trailer. The kills were tame, not necessarily that they weren't gonna be, that they were like I could show my kids them or anything like that.
Right,
They just
right.
were tame compared to what I was expecting,
Yeah.
which made them less funny. Is all that
Yeah.
I was.
If
that
I
was
can
all
watch
that.
a slasher film where I've never seen a kill before, then it's a win for me. Just because it's like I feel like they've made so many at this point where everything
Mhm.
feels predictable. Where if they can find a way to show me something different, I'm always
Mhm.
on board. So yeah, I
Mhm.
love the horror in this thing. I think it is what makes it just legitimately good as well. Because the writing is admittedly, I'll say right now, it's not good writing, but I don't think it's supposed
Mhm.
to be. It's supposed to be a little shocky or a little
Right.
satirical, but like satirical. But I also just I think the horror is what makes it like actually genuinely like there's well thought out horror beats, well executed, good use of blood, good makeup, good staging of those set pieces as well. So even the last final big blow up thing, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's great. Just the big fire explosion thing. Yeah, it's great.
Agreed.
Cool. Cool. So what else is there to talk about with Thanksgiving? We talked about the kills, we talked about the murder mystery, we talked about Thanksgiving itself and the holiday. Would this be a good time, Stacey, to talk about some of the stuff about Plymouth, what it gets right versus what it doesn't get
If
right?
you'd like to, I have like a whole
Yeah.
little list of kind of fun facts that are
Yeah, because
mostly
we'll talk about
Plymouth.
some like dialogue specifics and performance stuff when we get to
Okay.
superlatives, but I think this is a good point to talk about that.
So, yep, I've got my list here. I'll go through. First off, this isn't really about Plymouth, but Patrick Dempsey's character is named Eric Newton. Newton is the town that Eli Roth is from in Massachusetts.
Cool.
So I thought that was a fun little Easter egg in there. But with that being said, Plymouth does not have a sheriff. We have a police department. Sheriffs in Massachusetts handle like the sheriff's department is in charge of correctional facilities. They're not out solving crimes. So little tidbit there. We also don't have a mayor, which they did show the mayor in the parade. Plymouth has no mayor, never has.
But it's a New England. It's a movie set in a small town in New England. Legally, you have to have a sheriff and a mayor. I mean, that's the law in a movie.
In a movie. I'm not
Yeah,
talking
that's
about
what I'm
in the
saying.
movie. I'm just
No, I'm
letting
just
you
saying.
guys know.
I'm explaining why they have it. Legally,
Wait,
they
is
have
that
No,
really
I
a
mean, I get why
legal
they have
law in a movie?
No,
No. But
I'm
that's what they do.
I'm
Like the
saying
head
like that's
cop
what
is the
Oh,
sheriff.
in movies.
that's
There's
old.
always a
Okay, I
yeah.
got
We have a chief of police, like Jaws, because
Yeah, I
that
thought it
takes
was a
place in
thing like
Massachusetts.
how the villain is not allowed to use an iPhone. Like I thought it was one of
Oh,
those things. Yeah. Do you know
no.
about that? Where a villain is not
Yeah,
allowed to? Yeah, if a character has an iPhone, it means like you cannot make a villainous character have an iPhone. So a lot of time you're
that's the
able to pick
moment I
the killer.
stop using iPhones in my movies ever because
Um,
yeah.
Yeah.
but yeah, much like in Jaws, Brody is the chief of police because that's what
Mhm.
we do in Massachusetts. Apparently, we
Right,
have chiefs,
that
not
makes sense.
sheriffs. In Massachusetts as a whole as well, it is illegal to be open on Thanksgiving. Black Friday starts at midnight, not Thursday at dinner time. So
Interesting.
Good.
that was
As it
one
should
of my biggest things that I was like didn't love because I'm like, I want people to know we respect Thanksgiving here, that we're
Yes.
not making people
And
work.
it's such a focal point and big plot point too. The fact that they
Right.
are opening early, that yeah, it's hard to like just kind of breeze past it. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, that was like one of the few things that I was really like not loving the change. But and I've participated in like Black Friday stuff here before. And it's always very like we're out there at like 9 o'clock, all bundled up in a lawn chair, like just sitting in a line. Like it's so tame. I haven't done that in a lot of years now because everything's online. But yeah, so it's a very, very, very different situation. But obviously the movie is going to fictionalize and dramatize, and that's fine. I just, want to paint the correct picture of where I grew up. So some of the things I think were purposely changed for either a joke or because Plymouth wouldn't let them film there and maybe there were legality issues. I'm not sure. There's no Plymouth East. Plymouth East is ocean. There's south, north, west, and center. But east, you're in the Atlantic. So there's no high school there unless it's a fish.
That's like when I did Band on the Run, I filmed in Detroit. They all hate the fact that Journey's Don't Stop Believin' talks about South Detroit because South Detroit is the Great Lakes. Like, yeah.
So
So
I think maybe that was the joke, is that if you know that there's Plymouth East is ocean, that's kind of
right,
funny.
yeah.
There are 2 schools in Plymouth, North and South. This was definitely based on South. The South is a tech school for one, and they had like cosmetology and stuff. Well, it's both tech and academics. And also South plays Hanover. North does not.
Mm,
So it's definitely the school in this was supposed to be South School, which is where I went.
nice.
Our colors are teal and black, and and it's a panther, not a musketeer.
Hmm.
What is wrong, Matt? You look so concerned. Oh, you're
He's
muted.
Sorry, no, I'm just listening and dealing with kids, so
Oh, okay.
everything's
I
fine.
was like, I know this isn't like super exciting stuff or anything, but I just
No,
think it's
I'm
fun.
enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. Let
Okay.
me ask you something real quick before you go on. They made it so Hamlin, what is it? Is that what it's called? The other school?
Hanover.
Hanover, thank you. Hanover, they made it seem like it was in the same town because the people were in Plymouth like the whole time.
So
And it's not the same town?
no, but Plymouth's main rivals are Plymouth on Thanksgiving because they're in different
Mm,
divisions. They don't play each other like throughout the year, but on Thanksgiving they do. So like
Mm,
Plymouth South's rival is Plymouth North. Um,
okay.
but no, they're in different towns.
yeah.
There's not
That is a fairly, at least because I'm from a relatively smaller town, and the town next to us is where like a lot of the good shopping is. So I could see like going to the next town to shop, and that's kind of where the crossover is. But I guess like if you are in a bigger city, it is a little bit less likely that the kids from Hanover or whatever are gonna be in Plymouth on Black Friday. But it is also Black Friday, so maybe that store is just that
I
good
mean,
that like
Hanover has
everyone.
a mall, so it's really not going to happen because
Right. Okay. Yeah.
but
So yeah.
you know,
Mm. Mm.
who cares? I don't care about the things they got wrong about Hanover.
Well, I guess my question is, if Hanover is a different town, how far away is it from Plymouth? Because the
Well,
timing
because
involved in how fast the sheriff got there and back is in question.
because Plymouth is so big, like there's very
Okay.
different answers to that question. It
Oh, okay,
depends.
I
Like
gotcha.
from Walmart in Plymouth, you're almost in the next town, which is Kingston. And you could probably, if you're gonna fly down the highway, do it and there's not a lot of traffic, depending on how many back roads you're gonna hit, like down the highway, you could probably do it in 10 minutes or less.
Okay. Okay. That's
Especially if
reasonable.
you're a cop and you're just gonna speed the shit out of it. You
Yeah.
know, if you were going to where I grew up in Plymouth, it would take longer.
Mm.
But because I grew up in like the sticks in South Plymouth. But yeah, it's a different town. And when I was in school, they actually when I first watched the movie, I was like Hanover because I was like, I don't remember them being our rivals. They were Silver Lake or Duxbury, which means nothing to you guys, which is fine. But I did check because I was curious because I'm 46 years old. Like I'm like maybe I'm misremembering. So I looked it up, and they are rivals with Hanover now.
Gotcha.
Which is I learned something.
Mm.
There's also
Nice.
no Central Plymouth. The sheriff's department said Central Plymouth, which I thought was weird because it's just Plymouth. Like there's no Central Plymouth police or anything. And let's see. There's only a couple more. There's no John Carver House.
Okay.
We do have a lot of like little historical shack things around the main town and in that Plymouth Plantation place, but none are John Carver. There is a John Carver Inn and Spa, and I lived in an apartment next to it for quite a while in my 20s, so that's
Nice.
fun. They had a very good
Mm.
slide
I hope
water.
the spa didn't have any tanning beds, if you know what I mean.
I probably did. I don't know. I never actually went
I
into
hope
that.
there's a temperature limit, not like the John Carver house we see in the movie, you know.
And the only other, well, there was two other kind of joke things. One, creepy clown wouldn't have gotten 5 feet in the parade because it had been immediately out of place, and people were like, "What is going on with that?"
It did turn
Um,
into Joker rather quickly in that,
yeah,
that
I
scene.
was
It was
just
like,
like,
nope, I'm the
no,
killer. Ooh,
the
yeah.
creepy clown wouldn't have made it past the starting field where the parade launches from. Somebody in there would have been like, "That doesn't belong." And also we're not that into waffle irons. Just putting that out there. Nobody's getting killed over in a waffle iron.
I don't know
in
many
Plymouth.
people who are, honestly, but if you
Yeah.
are, let us know.
So those are my
That's
little, I don't know how fun they really are, but those are my little
that was-
factoids that I
That's very
noted.
insightful. Yeah, because the town is so in important to the story. Like at least in the atmosphere, at least in the vibes, the style, the way the people communicate and interact, and the way the geography is laid out. So it's just cool to have that extra insider scoop, which is cool.
Also, to your point in our thankfulness segment at the top, I read when the movie was coming out that originally Patrick Dempsey asked to be in it, and Eli Roth said no because of the accent stuff. But then he found out that Patrick Dempsey is from New England, I believe Maine, and
Okay.
so he was like, "Okay, you can do it."
I was
his
gonna
accent's
ask
not
how
bad.
good that is because it sounds fine to me, but it's not accent around here, so I just have to trust that movies are telling you the truth.
As a
about accents.
non Boston person, it sounded good. I think because it was so subtle. Because there's a lot of accents in this thing. Where they're going full out Boston, they're going, John Cava, But I do think there's a lot of like subtlety in his where it's a little tinge, but it's not too over the top. It's not like Seth MacFarlane that you
Yeah.
see in one of his stuff. So it's not like coming out of the show Ted, But I think that's why I appreciated it because in Ferrari, which is kind of the joke I made in the cold open, like. He's going so Italian and it's a lot and it's not working all the time. But I do think, there are subtleties in this accent which aren't, even if it's not a great accent, it's not as over the top, so it's a little more palatable. But Stacey, what do you think as an expert of the
So
location?
Plymouth is what we call the South Shore, and it's almost to the end of the South Shore. And the further you get from Boston, kind of the accent dissipates some. I mean, I know you guys have picked up on my accent, which I think is fairly slight. It sometimes gets worse if I'm angry or excited. But so it's not like Goodwill Hunting in Plymouth. Like you're not going to hear. And there are people obviously that relocated or their parents grew up in Boston and they, kind of they picked up the accent, learning to talk and whatever. But I think the accent's pretty good. The best Boston accents are the ones I don't notice for the most part because it just sounds like they're speaking to me like normal.
Yeah.
I do notice his some, but the biggest thing that people tend to get wrong is they turn the R into an A at the end, but we also put R's in the middle of words and do like an AH sound. And that's where a lot of people get it wrong. And I didn't notice them getting that wrong, which means they probably got it right.
Yeah, because like the waitress, for example, who gets killed kind of first in that order, she's the one who's split in half in
diner.
the dumpster. Yeah, she's very over the top with it. Like she's just trying all she can to get all that. It's like very like to where like that one's a little more noticeable.
Yeah.
Like
that's always been my critique is we put R's, we take them off of one word and put them in the middle of another, and then have the drawn out AH sound as well.
Interesting.
Sometimes you put them at the end of Soar. I saw that movie.
I saw it. Yeah.
Apparently we do that too, or maybe that's a me thing. I don't know.
It's not a you thing. I wouldn't make fun of it if it was only a you thing. If it was just you, I would be like, oh, she's got a speech impediment. But it's not an only you thing. It's something that I hear all the time.
I've saw it.
We do with drawer too, I think, kind of.
Drawer.
Although drawer has an R at the end.
Drawing.
We
drawer. I've heard drawer, draw, and drawer. I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know either. But it's I think overall the accents are either non-existent, which is fine, or pretty good.
Yeah.
There are some very
in dialect class, the only 10 out of 10 I got on any of my presentations was my New York one, obviously. So I can't say I'm an expert on any of them. My Boston one I got an 8 out of 10, so I was happy with that. But
when I used to do drama like class and stuff in school, I had a hard time with the and I'm probably going to say it wrong now because I'm thinking about it. I had a hard time with the word heart because I used to go hot. But that's what I'm saying, like the middle sound, the hot.
Right in the hot.
Yeah.
Right in the hot.
I had a real hard time saying heart in high school. So it's like stuff like that. But
yeah, I think that's why I love Survivor so much too, is because every person has a different accent, and it's amazing because they're all coming from different walks of life. Like there's a contestant from a few recent seasons, Matt and I love him, Jake O'Kane, who just has the thickest Boston accent you've ever heard in his life. Whoa.
Whoa, we're playing Survivor now.
We're playing Survivor. Like, it's so good. And then you have someone subtle like Boston Rob, who has a little bit of it in his voice, but he's a little lower, so it's a little more subtle. But I love it. I love Boston accent. It's one of my favorite accents.
Amber.
So I like that this was Amber. I love Amber.
I love
It was
Amber.
just such
Amber,
a
will you marry
treat
me?
to hear. And I almost said, like, after we met the Russian family, I turned to my parents. I was like, I bet you the audition was just prepare a monologue in either a Boston or Russian accent. Like, that's probably it.
I can't speak to the Russian accents. I have no idea.
No. But,
I did have a Russian foreign exchange student friend in high school, though, and he stayed. Like, he's still in the area. I don't know how that happened, but yeah. So we welcomed Russians into Plymouth. That was accurate.
So, should we check on whoever he exchanged with? Like, are they like?
I mean,
need to go back.
Maybe I thought it was a foreign exchange situation, and it wasn't. I don't know. I could have very
I'm
well
sick of being in the USSR. I need to get home.
I didn't need a
Lois.
But no, I could have been just that people said that, or that I thought the new Russian kid was a foreign exchange student. I don't know, but I'm guessing that I was wrong because you're correct. Where's the other person?
Yeah, hope he likes cold weather. All right. Anything else on Thanksgiving before we get to superlatives? Anything else about the horror?
There's
Matt?
one thing I haven't mentioned yet, and that is that I don't know if this was supposed to be a joke, because if it was, it wasn't super funny. But it was a running thing, and that is, and to me, it just feels like a missed opportunity, which was they made a point that he took that axe, and then he never lands. He lands one. He lands one on the shoulder of Scuba.
I mean,
he never kills anybody with it.
He cuts her bracelet, though. That's how she gets away. Because she's stuck on
no,
the
because
fence.
she still had it when she stuffed it in the blunderbuss.
I thought he hit it with the axe, and that's how it came loose.
She felt. That's why he said 1 second I would have had you, because she fell right before it landed.
Doesn't he, when the waitress lady when she gets frozen onto the door, doesn't he cut her off with it?
No,
she pulls herself.
He
off.
goes to grab it. She pulls herself off.
Gotcha. And so he always has it. He just doesn't use it.
He always has it. He just never kills anybody with it,
and it doesn't work out that way. He's just not good at killing people with the
trying.
axe.
It just felt like there was this symbolic thing about the John Carver axe that he took. That it feels like if he had killed one person, finally with it, it would have been a payoff. But it just doesn't happen.
Now that I'm thinking about it, he's not good with the axe. But what does he nail every single shot of? The tranquilizer gun. Why?
What is he? Chop the head off of in the parade when he's in the clown outfit, and he chops the head off of like the turkey or whatever.
Oh yeah, the mascot.
Does he use that?
I mean, what else would he use in that situation but the axe?
I don't know.
He's also in a different costume though. He's a clown at that point.
He's a
clown. I don't know. I actually didn't. It's hard to tell because you don't see him actually do it. You just see the aftermath. So it's hard.
That might have been it.
I don't know. Maybe.
But then if that's gonna be your big kill though, then show the axe. Yeah, that's a good point.
I did have one more thing, which I don't. Maybe I skipped over some stuff because I know that I had this noted in and I didn't say it. Cordage Park, and I said it that way on purpose. Cordage Park, which they mention a few times, is a real place. It was originally a manufacturer of rope. It's a great big place. They originally manufactured rope. It has since turned into shopping and then since turned into like just offices. My doctor was there for a while in Cordage Park. So that's fun. And there are tunnels. I don't know if they're under Cordage Park, but there are tunnels in Plymouth. And they did shoot some stuff in Cordage Park, but it did not make the final cut. So that was the other thing I wanted to touch on.
Yeah. Excellent.
Cool. Well, I believe that might be it for our discussion of the film. We're going to get into some specifics as well when we talk about performances and superlatives and stuff. We as Matt said, did the superlatives a little differently, but we can kind of all agree that we like this movie, right? This is not so bad it's good, obviously, but we also don't think it's bad. We like it, which is good. So we recommend it. It's a recommendation for us. I think I might get a sense I might like it a little bit better than you two do, but I think we all really, really like this one. So at least enough to
Stacy
not
likes it more than
Stacey likes it more than me. Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know.
No,
hard to gauge.
but we all do recommend it. Is the point?
Yeah.
So go check this one out. It's a real treat. It's just cool to have a movie for my favorite holiday now. It's like we're so underrepresented, and now we're finally here. We've made it to the big leagues. There's so many Halloween movies. What, like 12 of them? Halloween in the Halloween franchise. I guess there's no movie called Christmas, is there? It's always like Arthur Christmas or Father Christmas, or I don't know, Christmas.
Have you seen the Ice Storm yet? I recommended it to you a while back. Ang Lee's Ice Storm, Dylan.
Oh no, I have not.
It's a Thanksgiving movie.
Oh,
with
I will
swingers.
be watching it this year.
With swingers.
I'm gonna
swingers.
If it's in my watch list, then I will feel bad because it means
what's more fun than Thanksgiving with swingers?
The Ice Storm, 1997. Not on my watch list. It is now. Very excited.
It was when I sent the list of movies for the draft day. One of them was the cold one was Ice Storm, and I told you that you and Chad need to watch it because you'll really like it. It's my favorite Ang Lee movie.
Okay, because that was my favorite Ang Lee movie. You weren't on that one, right? But you said
I was not on it, but I was supposed to be, so I sent a list.
So I do have that list, but I didn't add it officially to my watch list. So I will watch that before Thanksgiving holiday. Yeah. So I will let you know. But yeah, it's cool. We have another Thanksgiving movie, it seems. But one that's like called Thanksgiving too, which is like undeniable. Love it. All right, Matt. What are we doing for superlatives again? Can you refresh my memory?
Excuse me. Okay, so this time it's gonna be Thanksgiving themed. We are going to talk about a character / actor who we want to sit next to at the dinner table, a character / actor who eats the last deviled egg without ensuring that everyone has had some, the line of dialogue we're thankful for, and the scene we'd watch instead of football on Thanksgiving Day.
Okay.
Oh, that's the wrong thing I just did. Sorry. Go. Let's talk about if I can find this freaking. There we are. Okay. Let's talk about the character we want to sit next to at dinner. I'll go ahead and go first real quick because, as I said before, the first time through I was like, I don't want to sit next to any of these people. Like 6 minutes in, I had a bunch of people I didn't want to sit next to. And one of them, I even started texting. I was like, I know who Dylan doesn't want to sit next to. And then I realized that the question wasn't who do you not want to sit next to? It's who do you want to sit next to? I was like, oh, never mind.
I'm curious to find out who you think I would not want to sit next to.
I will tell you when I get to my other one because it's that person. But who I do want to sit next to. So the first time through, I was just like, I don't really want to sit next to any of them except maybe Patrick Dempsey, but dude killed a bunch of people, so maybe not. I finally the second time through I grew to appreciate a character that is definitely up my alley, and he is definitely the one I would want to sit next to because he's just so cool, and inexplicably at the end is standing with the rest of the heroes even though he's not really part of their group, and that is McCarty, played by Joe Delphin, who's just so cool. Like first time through I was like burnout, like I didn't really appreciate him in the same way, but the second time through I'm just like, dude has the hookup, he's super chill and cool, like he has good words for the people, he helps them out when he needs to, he's standing there at the end with them as they stand in defiance. It's crazy. So yeah, it's definitely McCarty for me, sitting next to me at the dinner table.
Nice. Stacy?
So I do want to sit next to Eric Newton, aka Patrick Dempsey, because if he's sitting there eating next to me, he's not dressed up as John Carver murdering me. So that is the safest place to be. And chances are we're not eating people for dinner if he's also partaking.
That's true. I would say that my area might be a little bit safer because McCarty did have all those guns.
There's also no guns and ammo stores in Plymouth, unless they're newer. They could be
that's
now.
what you need McCarty for.
I guess so. But yeah, that was it. I just figured there was no. I don't dislike the main girl Jess or Bobby for that matter, really. But there was nobody that stood out to me like this is the person I want to hang out with. So I went with sit next to me and don't be killing me.
That's good.
Yeah, it was hard because it was like character / actor. And like actor, I'm gonna hang out with my bro Milo Manheim because like I loved him on Days with the Stars. I kind of want to pick his brain on what goes into a Whitney Carson freestyle. But like Ryan is admittedly a bit of a dull, kind of boring, whatever character. So in thinking of the characters, I also consider Tim Dillon as Manny because he gives massive Chris Farley energy. I almost was watching him and I was like, Dad, does Chris Farley have a brother? Because like he had so many good mannerisms. He sounded like him, acted like him. He
He
had a cute
does,
little
but
cat.
that's not him.
Yeah. Oh, Chris Farley does have a brother, but it's not him. Gotcha. So ultimately, it was between Addison Rae's Gabby, Nell Verlaque's Jessica Wright, and Gina Gershon's Amanda Collins, simply because I think they're all gorgeous. But but Gina Gershon, I take her more in her Bound era, her insider era. So I ruled her out. Addison Rae, I ruled out just because she's Addison Rae. But I will go Nell Verlaque as Jessica Wright. I think her as a character, she is kind of the bystander. She is the one who is kind of roped into it. Yes, she makes mistakes, but I think she quickly learns from her mistakes. She's defiant of her parents and the commercialism of that Mini Mart or whatever, or Kmart or whatever it's called, the superstore. But
Right,
she
Mark.
is, she seems to have a real ability to grow and learn, which I appreciate. She seems like she's a good conversationalist. She's just the most chill, like the person who probably wouldn't cause the most issues, and she's also beautiful. So that is just like all the reasons. But also like in terms of performance, she was also my favorite performance because I do think she is a good just final girl. She does a good job, and I think her character, despite her flaws, does show the most capability of maturing than most of her friends do. So that would be my choice. But I had a lot of choices. I think I liked a lot more characters than you guys did, but I think she was probably my favorite character.
I was pretty neutral on a lot of characters, I'll say. Like I didn't just dislike all of them like Matt. A lot of them I was just like, whatever. Like I just didn't love or hate them. They're just pretty stereotypical teenage horror movie characters. So
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I didn't actively hate a lot of them, but when they're in that car together, I'm just like, good Lord, that's the most annoying car I've ever seen. Like,
Yeah.
And maybe it's just my age, but it
was
was
No,
super
it
annoying.
is. No, it's not your age. No, it is not your age. That is truth. But she, of all five of them, is the most tame. And you know what? Scuba has a really cool name, so I could also consider.
I did like
because I think
Scuba.
he's a cool name.
I don't know that I
Scuba
want to
was
talk to him
cool,
at
but
dinner.
he doesn't really. He gets a little bit at the end, but most of the movie he doesn't do anything.
Right.
Like it,
which sucks because he's the only black character, which can say something grander about horror movies and problems. But
Addison Rae's character I thought was very interesting because she seemed like the coolest of all of them, but for some reason was with that dipshit and like she obviously is uncomfortable with things he's doing, but you feel like that's going to lead up to something and then it never does. And so I'm like, oh, okay, so she's just there. Like, so she has no character is what's happening. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
What?
It leads to her getting back with Bobby, right? Like her
No,
being
not her, the guy who was with
okay. Yep, never mind. I was mixing them up.
the other one. Yeah.
Cool. All right.
The next one. That goes to character who eats the last deviled egg without making sure that everyone has had some. Dylan, I'd like to find out who yours is first, actually.
It is me. I am that guy. Deviled eggs, I fuck that shit up. I love that shit. That is my favorite thing to eat all throughout the year. I have it other locations, not just Thanksgiving. So it's not like my favorite Thanksgiving food. It's similar to like mashed potatoes, where I have mashed potatoes year round. So I can't like consider it my favorite Thanksgiving food. But I'm usually that guy. But of these characters, again, it's like, am I going for the worst actor or the one that the character I think would do so? So I'm gonna say it's the same and go with Tommaso Sanelli's Evan Fletcher. Could not stand him from the top. Just pissed me off every single second of the way. To where I actually felt for Addison Rae, that I was like, poor thing. It's just awful. Evan's an awful character. No sympathy when he gets his comeuppance, like Matt said, like you don't feel any sadness, which sucks because like it is a brutal mutilation. But it's like, I don't know. He was just so annoying, and he's the reason why all this shit happens because he filmed it all, and he's just a little punk. I don't like him.
And he's like humping the waffle maker and making him all angry. The thing.
Weird. Like he's in middle school still.
Yeah, mine was also Tommaso Sinelli as Evan Fletcher. That dude, that's the one I was like, this is who Dylan doesn't want to sit next to, because
Oh,
I
okay.
definitely don't want to sit next to. And the thing that, and because I said 6 minutes in, because that's the moment that he says, "How am I going to text during the movie if I don't have a phone?" And I was like, "Fuck that guy! Fuck
Yeah,
that guy!"
yeah. I forgot about it by the time the movie ended. Now you just reminded me of it, so now I'm pissed off all over again. Yeah, fuck that guy. Fuck that guy. Wow.
So yeah, that's who's mine.
Like,
Stacy,
it's
who took
different
your
if it
devil
like it's different if like you're in the movie and you hear a buzz and you just like have to check it. But the fact that you're not even at the movies and you're thinking about it, like
You're
it's a
planning,
goal. Oh my god,
pre-planning.
I'm so pissed off. Oh.
Well, I can agree with the fuck that guy sentiment, but my person that will eat the last deviled egg, I'm taking out the fact that it's possible she wouldn't eat deviled eggs. I'm assuming she likes them. And that would be Kathleen, the stepmom, because
Mm.
all she cares about selfishly is that store being open. She deletes the surveillance tapes. She's a selfish bitch. And selfish bitches do not care if somebody else has had any deviled eggs.
And they get cooked.
And
Yeah,
they get
her
cooked.
character kind of sucks, but I think she's
So,
supposed to.
yeah. Oh, no, she's
Yeah.
definitely supposed
yeah.
to suck. But
mean,
yeah,
Evan's
I mean,
supposed to
even
too.
when they're first being like kind of, hunted down and they know who's the targets are, she still wants the store to open again that year. Like, she does not care.
Honestly, the
No.
dad sucks too. They both
Yeah,
suck.
he does. But in the end,
both
he does do like
He has
more
some
of the right
tender
things.
moments, though, at least.
Yeah.
Like,
I think she's just purely selfish.
Yeah.
So purely selfish would eat the last egg.
Hmm.
My
yeah,
opinion.
But
the
really,
dad-
it's me. I would eat the last.
so would I. Well, but I would say,
Eating it makes
I
you
would, as
purely
it was heading
selfish.
toward my mouth, be like, "Does anybody else want this? Because I'm about to eat it."
Yeah,
And
that's
then
me.
I would consume it before they
Yeah,
could.
no,
That's
I
me.
probably would just be like, you know what? If everyone wanted one, they would have gotten one.
I think it would depend on how many I had already
That's
eaten.
shitty.
If I had
No, okay,
already eaten a lot,
Another thing is like my family knows I love the deviled egg. So also we make a whole tray that we put in the fridge and then we serve the tray for the guests. And then like the fridge is where I pick at. Like I go into the fridge and take the ones that are in the fridge. They're like the
Gotcha.
backups. Like,
to be
and it's
clear,
all conscious because of that. Like I would never actually take the last one without asking. But if
I'm
it's
just
been like an hour or two and we've already eaten the dinner and the hors d'oeuvres are still sitting out there from earlier, I'll see it. You know?
I mean,
yeah.
it's gonna go bad at that point. You have to just take
Yeah.
it.
You're
But
doing a service by eating it.
to be clear, I don't think eating the last egg makes you purely selfish, but I think the purely selfish person would eat the last egg.
Yes,
If
that was really my point. Without making sure everybody had some, and I don't mean had all they wanted, but eating them before anybody else got to them. Like,
Right.
it's the not eating the last deviled egg doesn't make you selfish, but a selfish person is going to eat that last deviled egg. Like,
Exactly.
that was the point I was going after there.
So,
So I was going to mention the dad. The dad is very interesting because he feels like he should be totally evil, but he does have like some tender moments, and you can tell he loves his daughter, and which is stands to reason. He should love his daughter, but there are moments where he does have moments of sympathy, which I can't say I wanted him to have, but he does have them, so it makes it harder for me to hate him fully.
That's a good point.
I think a lot of his worst qualities are influenced by and brought out by Kathleen.
That makes sense.
So
That makes
that's
sense.
why I hate him a little less.
All right, so let's talk about a line of dialogue we're thankful for. Stacy,
Okay.
what line
So
are you thankful?
this was the line that I walked out of the theater going, "This is my line." I did not realize at the time that it was the tagline of the movie. And that is, "Sorry, Jessica, this year there will be no leftovers." But because it is the tagline, I did pick another one if it's like too, I don't know, lame, I guess, to go with the tagline of the movie.
It was
for my
mine too, so yes, it is too lame.
Okay, well, my other one that I love, but not quite as much, and definitely was not what I was thinking when I walked out of the movie, was, "Is that any way to treat Kathleen? She's been cooking all day."
That was my backup. Oh my gosh. I was gonna do the same exact thing. I was like, that line is too on the nose. Let me go with this other one. Stacy, yeah, there you go.
I was gonna go with the this year there are no leftovers. That is literally the tagline of the fake trailer as well. So that's actually
Yeah.
in the movie to pay homage to the fake trailer.
I avoided so much of the marketing because I knew I was going to see it that I really never realized that was the tagline until recently.
Yeah, yeah, and
Mm.
it's from that original Grindhouse fake trailer, so that's awesome. I the Kathleen one's good. I actually chose one that both times I heard it, just I enjoyed, and it did take my mind off the fact that a lady's scalp was being pulled off, which
Oof.
was you know, you're a fucking Muppet, you Jim Henson motherfucker, go back to Fraggle Rock. And that was by Lizzie, who I
Mm.
believe is the this waitress who
Yeah.
Yeah.
later gets murdered.
Fraggle
Yeah.
Rock.
Mhm.
Yeah, I did have the same exact two that Stacey had, but I did write down a few more. I think the response of after she's filmed him and she's like, "That's right, no leftovers." Her rebuttal where she gives the line back to him, I think
Mhm.
is even better than the initial line. I don't even
Yeah.
think it's actually when she's being filmed, because that
It's
one
like, "You
she's
should
like, "There
see the
was
shock
service."
on your face."
He
That's
does
what
it.
it was. But then
Yeah.
also later when she shoots the thing and makes it go up in flames, she
Yeah.
says, "You were right. There will be no leftovers." Both those
Mhm.
moments, the one where it's like, "You should see this shock on your face," when she delivers the line right back to him. I love those in screenplays when like you can like literally take the same line and throw
Mhm.
it back at the character, and it means something else. So I like that. And there's another line that I think, thinking about it more, should have been even more of a tell that the cop was behind it, because Evan says, "If we let the police handle it, we're all going to be ending up 50% off," which means it's a stupid Black Friday joke, but it's also the fact that the cop murdered this woman and took 50% of her off. I think if
Mhm.
you can look deeper, but that's something you wouldn't be able to pick up on the first time. But now looking back, I'm like, oh, that line has a double meaning. Yeah, I think it's actually a clever screenplay. It's just very schlocky. It's very cheesy,
Yeah,
and
Mhm.
but
campy, but it
on
works.
purpose.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
So,
agree. All right, so a scene you'd watch instead of football on Thanksgiving Day. I don't watch football on Thanksgiving Day anyway, so this is easy for me. But in the spirit of the question, basically my favorite, which is I'm gonna say it's the scene. I forgot the character's name. The security guard who ran away. His murder scene is
Chris Farley.
great because, huh? Chris
Chris
Farley.
Farley is what I call him. Yeah.
That character. When he's asking the cat to tell him where is he? Like, tell Dad, tell Daddy where he is. And then he gets killed with a electric carving knife.
mhm.
Um, and then his head is his kappa is detated from his body. I all of that just made me laugh. It's probably like the funniest
Hmm.
scene of murder for me. Even though at that moment I was like, he's so small, and I was like, I guess it's Bobby. Like, but beyond that, the rest of the scene is just very funny to me. So I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah. Stacy.
Dylan,
Oh,
Stacy, whoever.
ladies first.
Thank you. It's very fun. I almost went with the same scene, but my big thing from that is just him feeding the cat in the end and then
Yes,
petting
that's
it,
so
and I
good.
was like, that's not really enough. So the scene I said I would watch instead of football if the Patriots are playing, because otherwise I don't care about football. Is the parade scene because it's just pure chaos from the
Mm.
moment he cuts the head off of whatever the hell it is. I think it was a turkey. I don't remember.
Yeah, it was
We
good.
already commented on the pole that comes through the back of the truck through how big it is, and the little girls going like, "Papa, say something, Grandpa, say something," whatever. There's just so much people falling off of floats, and there's just so much chaos and mayhem that it's a lot of fun, and it's more than you see on the football field.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's funny, I'm the opposite. I watch football so religiously that I would not find myself watching much else than that. I'm the opposite of you guys. But if I had to, it's gonna be the Black Friday opening. I think that cold open is just so good. Just the build
It
up,
is good.
the actual staging of it, all the kills, just the suspense of it, the way you're able to communicate so much of these characters without having to say it. I just think it's a really good cold open that really kicks the movie off on a really strong note. I was like, where were the pickle? I mean, the Pickle Awards were here last year. Where was I? I missed this. This would have gotten the Pickle Award for Best Movie Opening last year. Like, I thought it was such a good way to just open a movie, set the tone, build it, deliver a big banger horror set piece. The kills themselves are gnarly. The guy who just like runs by the glass on the
Oh,
wall, like
glass.
and he's just spewing out, and then she gets like scalped, and but that's also realistic because that actually happens in the most extreme cases of Black Friday. So I think it just worked really well, and then the fact that what takes us to our title is the cop shooting in the air, which
Mhm.
he ends up being the killer. It makes a lot more sense also when you look it back. So I really like it. I think it's a great way to kick off the movie. I love a big, long, cold open where, you have like 20 minutes and then it drops the title and you're like, whoa,
Yeah, like you don't
I
even
love that.
realize you haven't seen the title yet because you're already
Right.
so into the movie. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, holy shit,
So
we just got a title card now.
yeah, so I love that whole opening. I think it's a perfect opening 20 minutes. I would not change a thing. So that's my pick.
Nice. It is
Excellent.
really good.
All right. Well, we're not gonna talk about. I mean, we're not gonna put this on the Mount Trashmore, obviously, because it's not a bad movie.
Yeah.
We don't have any other superlatives, so let's talk about next month, December.
Oh,
We are gonna have a very, very special guest on our show, named Stacy.
Who's
And
that?
That's right. She's doing back to back. We
It's a
will be
Black Friday buy
watching.
one get one sale.
That's
exactly.
right. It's Black Friday, buy one get one.
You guys got a
We're going to
discount.
be talking about the movie Santa Jaws, which again Dylan and I haven't seen.
No,
So
Stacey just keeps
It's
throwing these
still
titles at us.
available on Prime. I should check.
It probably is. It was a sci-fi original. They stay around.
Yeah.
They stay around.
Yeah.
Very fun.
So yeah,
Anyway.
we're gonna see how that goes. Stacy actually, because Raven, neither of us had seen either. So like she just brings the you have never seen it movies to this podcast.
This
So,
one is actually bad. Like The Raven is, questionable. Thanksgiving's good, but this one is it's bad.
okay. Well, I'm excited to watch it because here's the thing. Full disclosure, I wanted to watch it last year, I think, but then I watched the trailer and I was like, oh, this feels very intentional, like whatever. But I need to give it a full shot, see if it's bad, or because like there are movies that are bad on purpose and not even like Velocipaster. I've mentioned in the past, we're never gonna do Velocipaster because every ounce of that is we are trying to make a bad movie. So I'm hoping that that's not how this ends up, but I'm excited to watch it and talk about it next month.
Nice.
Also, this month on Thanksgiving, over on Maddie Loves Movies YouTube channel, on the this Thanksgiving episode of Camp Film Camp, my special guest is going to be, it was going to be because this is airing before that, right?
This is airing the
Dylan
day before.
Randazzo.
Whoa! Oh,
Yeah.
What?
Oh, look at that. We're talking about sports movies because he loves sports. So yeah, so he's going to be on the Thanksgiving episode of Camp Film Camp, which is dropping on Thanksgiving. The movies we are covering, the campy sports movies we're covering is Speed Racer from 2008, Slapshot from 1977, Kingpin from 1966, The Waterboy from 1998, and Basketball from 1998, which I predict Dylan is going to hate.
Oh, okay. Hey,
because here's the thing. Maybe you'll love it, and I loved it as a teenager. But when I think back to it, I haven't watched it since I was a teenager. When I think back to it, I think, oh wow, that movie was wrong in all kinds of ways. So I'm wondering, as a young man who did not watch that as a teenager, and even when you were a teenager, we were far more enlightened than we were when I was a teenager. I'm wondering if that's going to how you're going to react to it. So I'm very interested in having that conversation.
Yes.
But
right.
yeah,
I'm very
that's
excited
happening on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about it. I don't have an outlet to really talk about sports movies, which is a shame. So I'm glad I have that outlet to do so.
Really
and if you guys haven't, Right? I should start a YouTube channel. But yeah, if you haven't checked out Matt's YouTube channel, it launched last month. It is great. It has already kicked off with such a great high between his
Thank you.
movie reviews that he's been doing and his first episode of Camp Film Camp, and then also just some behind the scenes stuff I've seen of one other show he's done is really exciting stuff. So I'm really excited to see this channel continue to grow even more. Yes.
That episode is coming out. The first episode's coming out this Thursday, so it will have already come out when
All
this
right.
airs.
Well, there you go. The first episode of
Cinema Soapbox.
Cinema Soapbox was also great. We film things in different orders that we release them. That's a little behind the scenes, but we are thankful for you, our audience. So we're letting
We
you in on
filmed the
those behind
first
scenes.
6 episodes of Cinema Soapbox. So
Yeah, there's 6 in the docket. We're good till January. But yeah, we appreciate you guys here. Stacy, we'll let you have the final plug. What do you have coming up? What do you have going on aside from being on FRAMEWRECK next month, where we can do like a full proper like send off end of year chat with the 3 of us, but we will see you again soon. So in the meantime, where
Yes.
can they find you?
I mean, other than like social media, which I haven't even really been on much lately, I'm Stacy
blame you.
LM78. If you want to look at my stuff there, which sometimes people do. And I will also be making my premiere appearance on Matt's channel next month. So
That's
you'll
true.
get a 2-4 in December. And
right.
yeah, hopefully in the new year you can find me here again.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we've also got a lot of trivia stuff coming as well on Marvel's Movie Mondays, which I have to get back into because we've been on a hiatus, just busyness and all. But those are Matt and I's socials. Go follow us there. Obviously, Dyl Pickle Movie Network is where you are now, or on Dyl Pickle Podcast. If you're on the podcast, give us 5 stars. Our ratings on the podcast have been substantially getting lower and lower, but not lower in score, but just lesser and lesser of reviews. But YouTube subscriptions have been great. We love all of the people who have talked about the show and sent great compliments. And because this is Thanksgiving episode, I just want to thank you all for listening and for being dedicated members. But thank you all for just sticking with us and being a great part of what we do and why we do what we do. Thanks to these people, lovely people who keep me in check, not just on the screen, but behind the scenes and behind the screens as well. They're in my little emotional support bubble, and I really appreciate that. So thank you guys so much. Matt, any last words before we call it a day?
No, yeah, I already mentioned go visit us on, or go visit, us, all of us on over at Maddie Loves Movies. I'm very excited about that. Subscribe, check things out. I think that I think we got some good things coming up, especially after we did those first 6 episodes of Cinema Soapbox. I'm very excited about the future. So yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time with Santa Jaws, right? Santa Jaws? Santa Claus? Santa Claus? Santa Jaws. There we go. It's a shark. There we go.
Yeah.
Ding-a-ling-ling. We'll see you next month. Bye.
What a story, Mark.